We have got breaking news to report, and this is going to be a shocker to everyone. Guess what? A jury didn't believe Jussie Smollett. Wow. Who could believe that? The former Empire star just found guilty on 5 of 6 felony counts after filing false police reports in connection with that staged hate crime attack that he orchestrated in January of 2019. It took them less than 10 hours over the course of 2 days to reach their decision. Here's how it played out. The first 2 counts in connection to his initial report to the responding officer 45 minutes after the fake assault took place, telling the officer that he'd been the victim of a battery and a hate crime. Convicted, convicted. Third and fourth counts in connection to Smollett making the same claims to a Chicago PD detective later that morning. Convicted, convicted. Fifth count tells same detective that he was the victim of a battery. He said that later that night. Now, each count carries a maximum of 3 years in prison and a $25,000 fine. Smollett was acquitted on 1 count for telling a second detective 2 weeks later that he'd been the victim of an aggravated battery. We'll talk in a minute about what that could all mean. But after the verdict came down, Smollett's attorney spoke to the media and made some outrageous statements.
Obviously, we've heard the jury's verdict. We respect the judiciary, we respect the trial by jury process, so we're not going to criticize that. We're obviously very disappointed. We obviously respectfully disagree with the jury's verdict. The verdict is inconsistent. You cannot say Jussie is lying and Jussie is not lying for the same exact incidents. So we feel 100% confident that this case will be won on appeal. Unfortunately, that's not the route we wanted, but sometimes that's the route that you have to take to win, especially a case where we remain 100% confident in our client's innocence. From the first day of this case, his case has been prejudged, his case has been tried in the media, and it's unfortunate. This is the United States of America. We live in a constitutional democracy where everyone is presumed innocent. But obviously, if we're being honest, that hasn't been the case. In social media, in the media, he's been tried and convicted before his day in court. But we are confident in our appellate system. We're confident in our Illinois Supreme Court. And we're
Okay, that's a whole lot of nonsense. Okay, and let me go through and tell you why. I've been writing down, listening to him, each one of the problems with what he just said. All right? Now, he can disagree with the verdict, right? Comes out, says, I disagree. We hope to appeal. That's not what he's saying. First, he's saying the verdict is inconsistent. He's saying that because Jussie Smollett was convicted on 5 counts of things he said on the night of the incident. The jury decided not to convict him on something apparently he said 2 weeks later. There's not an inconsistency there. It doesn't mean that they believed Jussie Smollett later. All it means is that the jury, for whatever reason, was not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that the comment 2 weeks later was a crime. It's actually entirely consistent. Everything he said on the night of the incident was not true. Everything he said on the night of the incident was nonsense. That's consistent. Number 2, he's 100% confident he's going to win on appeal. No lawyer is 100% confident they're going to win on appeal. Appeals are a long shot. And the appeal doesn't determine the factual innocence or guilt. They're going to have to find legal problems. That's nonsense number 2. I'm going to be talking to my lawyers about this. Terri Austin is sitting right next to me, watching as I'm saying this, because I'm just sort of ad-libbing all this. But anyway, number 3 is that he says that it was the media's fault for prejudging this case. The media who believed Jussie Smollett when he made the allegations are to blame? This is banana stuff coming from this lawyer and only making his situation worse. Terry, I'm taking a deep breath. All right. Meanwhile, prosecutors seem pleased with the verdict and blasted Smollett for lying to the jury.
Defendants have a right to go to trial. Defendants have a right to argue that their case has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But defendants do not have the right to go in front of a jury and lie under oath. Mr. Smollett would not have lost this case, as he did today, unless the jury found that he lied to them.
Smollett is due back in court for sentencing. I still don't get why he rolled the dice here, why he didn't plead guilty. Did he think he'd fool the jurors? Did he need to be able to tell his fans he never gave up? If he had pled guilty and admitted what he had done, I would have been saying no jail time. It's the kind of crime where you typically would get probation. But now, after everything that he has put the system through, I think it'll be a miscarriage of justice if he doesn't get jail time. Now we get to see her. Attorney Terri Austin, co-host of the nationally syndicated program Law and Crime Daily, and Judge Glenda Hatchett, former judge in Georgia, the founding partner of Atlanta's The Hatchett Firm. I was going to ask you a different question, Terry, but let me start by asking you about the defense attorney's statement. Am I overreacting?
You're not overreacting. I mean, to get an appeal and win on appeal, you have to have some sort of legal error. You have to have a jury misconduct, or you have to have ineffective counsel. He doesn't have any of those things. As far as the legal error is concerned, he's saying the judge was biased against them. They admitted evidence, they excluded evidence, but there's no evidence of that. To me, it seems as though everything that needed to get in got in. The judge made all the right rulings. So 100% he thinks he's going to win on appeal. You did not overreact.
Yeah. Glenda Hatchett, first thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I agree with both of you. I thought that his comments were way off. But then again, I mean, you think about his closing arguments. I mean, he made some outrageous claims in this case. And frankly, I was really surprised that the jury took as long as it took, almost more than 9 hours to come back with a verdict. The prosecution in this case was very clear on those 6 points. He didn't give up any cell phone information initially, DNA. The whole thing about riding around the block for 3 times with both of these brothers in the car, I mean, it goes on and on and on. And why would you then be attacked by somebody that you have just allegedly spent $3,500 with for nutrition advice? It doesn't make any sense.
But this is part of why. But this is part of why, Judge Hatchett, I'm so frustrated with this defense attorney, right? This is such an absurd case, right? This is almost a cartoonish case. The defense is silly. You know, it's insulting all of our intelligence, right? Okay, he's hired to take the case, Jussie Smollett, high-profile case. He takes it, I understand. He advocates for his client as best he can. But then he comes out. He's claiming that it's the media's fault. He's claiming it's racial. He's just trying to inflame the situation. And no one, I shouldn't say no one, almost no one is buying it. But that's the part about it. I think that's what's getting me sort of riled up here is that aspect of what he's saying.
Well, I agree with you, Dan. The thing is that I don't, for the life of me, understand why they didn't plead this case out. The things that really came out in this case, I think are far more damaging, frankly, to him and his career, about the drug use and what he was doing with these guys. I mean, nobody really reads that. First of all, he said that the attackers were white. That, I mean, there were so many inconsistencies. And when the defense got up for a closing argument, what does he have to say? That, these guys are like drug kingpins and, you aren't supposed to be like Sherlock Holmes. You're supposed to come back with a just verdict, because there was no real defense. He should have pled out. They should have resolved this case. And now I think it's even worse. And I agree, if he thinks that he's going to prevail on appeal, I mean, this is just ludicrous at this point. It just drags it out. Let's also remember that the city has a civil case against him. Let's not forget that.
Right. I'm going to ask you both about the possible sentence in a second. But one of the things the defense seems focused on is this idea that the verdicts were inconsistent, right? Is this idea that, oh, he got convicted of 5 of the 6 charges. Here is what Smollett's attorney said about that issue.
Again, I think everyone needs to focus on the fact that this is an inconsistent verdict. You cannot, everything stems from one incident. Jussie was not accused of doing 2 different things. And he was accused of doing one thing and charged multiple times for the same incident. A jury cannot come out and say guilty of lying, but not guilty of lying. It doesn't make sense.
Are we that dumb? That's the question that I'm going to ask now. I'm going to ask Terri Austin to respond to that.
This is what I think. I think he is just making things up, trying to say that it's inconsistent. Clearly, it is not. To your point, the last count, the reason I think the jury came back with saying, all right, we'll give him that, is because it was a 2-week delay. Maybe they are giving him some, accounting for the fact that it was after the fact and he didn't remember, and so we'll give him that. Not that he was intentionally lying. So I think for the other counts, clearly all related to the same incident, and all, as far as the jury was concerned, Smollett was lying. So.
Now, let me play this out. This is from the prosecutor, okay? Here he's talking about this 6th count because he was asked about this. The prosecutor was at the press conference, and all of this just breaking. So this happened, in the last hour or so.
That 6th count was an event that occurred 2 weeks after the event. So the other false statements were made to the police right on the day of January 29th on 3 different interviews. And that counted for 5 of the 6 counts, which he was found not guilty in every one of those. The 6th count was 2 weeks later, on February 13th at a police station, and it may be because it was after the event. I don't know what the reason was. It wasn't that significant to our case and has no impact on the case whatsoever.
And Glenda Hatchett, I assume you agree?
I agree with that. I think the whole idea is a stretch. I think the defense is just pulling for straws, as they have done in a lot of this case, Dan. I just don't understand why they rolled the dice and went to trial in this case. I just don't see it.
All right, and I want to talk about that in a minute because the key question now is going to be what kind of sentence he could get. And I'm going to take a break here, and I'm going to ask both of you to tell me exactly what sort of time you think Jussie Smollett may get behind bars. And I'm also going to talk about how people forget this case really almost didn't go to trial. The charges were dismissed. We forget about that. Coming back. Welcome back. We are continuing our coverage of the verdict in the case of Jussie Smollett, the former Empire actor, now found guilty on 5 of the 6 charges he was facing. It's called disorderly conduct, but it really means filing false police reports, basically 5 separate lies that he told to police. Now, he's facing up to 3 years in prison on each one. But up to doesn't mean that's what you get. A lot of people with a lot of different theories on this. I said just a little earlier that I think he now has to get jail time as a result of what he's put the system through. But if you look at previous cases like this, there's definitely going to be an argument for probation. Joined again by attorney Terri Austin and Glenda Hatchett. Terri, what do you think he's going to get here?
I have mixed feelings about this. I think it's possible he will not get jail time and he may only get probation. I think he's definitely going to have to pay some money. He spent a lot of time for the police officers having to investigate all of this. So I think there's going to be some penalty imposed. Maybe that'll be at the civil trial, but here, if they can impose the $25,000, they will. But I think the fact that he has wasted so much time and that people are really outraged that he has brought this claim, he lied on the stand, he lied to police officers, like you said, 5 different times the jury found that he lied about this one incident. I think there's a possibility the judge is going to think about all that and impose a small amount of time. It won't be, I don't think, 3 times 5. So I don't think it's going to be.
Do you think he'll get a year?
I think he might get a year.
Yeah, because Glenda Hatchett, the main reason that I am convinced he's going to get jail time, a lot of people are asking me now, well, could he face a perjury charge, right? Because he testified in this case, and he clearly lied on the stand. Prosecutors are not going to charge him with perjury. But I do think that that could become relevant when looking at a possible sentence here, that the judge will say it's not just that he was convicted for lying 5 times. He actually went up, sat on the stand, and did it again.
And again, and again, and again. I agree with what Terri has just said. It's also a matter of trust that's been broken, not just with this case, but for all the people who came out really concerned that he had in fact been the victim of a hate crime. And so I do think that there's going to be jail time. I don't think it will be, again, 3 times 5, nor do I think it will be 3. I think it may be anywhere between 6 to 12 months, with the rest of the sentence, the rest of the 3-year sentence being suspended and him being on probation. And I think a hefty fine. I would not be surprised to see the $25,000 fine imposed in this case at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I want to talk about Kim Foxx. This is the woman who had been the district attorney. She was someone where the charges were dropped. She wrote an op-ed piece where she actually defended the decision to initially drop the charges. And she said, but as I've said before, since before I was elected, we must separate the people at whom we are angry from the people of whom we are afraid. I mean, it's basically a way of saying that we shouldn't prosecute anyone we're not afraid of. And of course, you know, that would mean all these white-collar criminals should never be prosecuted, right? So that's not a standard by which anyone is going to live by. Now, the special prosecutor, who was later appointed, called out Foxx for substantial abuses of discretion and operational failures. Foxx herself admitted she didn't handle the case well. But Jussie Smollett's attorney again brings up Foxx to suggest that the system was rigged against Jussie Smollett. This is what he said moments ago.
We had the first black female prosecutor elected into Cook County as a state's attorney, and she was second guessed, Kim Foxx. She made an executive decision, and she decided not to prosecute this case, and she was second guessed, and someone was appointed to prosecute it. So the question has to be asked, why was so much money and resources spent re-prosecuting this case when we have thousands and thousands of people dying, hundreds of people dying in Chicago from gun violence?
Again, A plays the race card, right? Suggesting, oh, you know, she's the first black woman who's ever held this position, so she was second guessed. And then makes the sort of this sort of typical argument of don't they have better things to do? I'm more offended, Terri Austin, by argument number 1.
Yeah, I'm offended by both arguments. Look, there's no question that she should have been second guessed. I mean, she recused herself because she had to recuse herself. How do you bring charges and then drop all of these charges? Based on what? And so I am glad that there was a special prosecutor appointed, that they ultimately pursued all of these charges. And the race card is a red flag. I mean, obviously, he is claiming that that is why she was second guessed. That's not why she was second guessed.
I guess the reason I'm so offended in this case, Glenda Hatchett, by sort of the attorney using the race card is that's exactly what Jussie Smollett did here, right? I mean, that was his sin. And now we have, in my view, and I'm not saying it's equal, but his attorney doing something similar to that.
Well, it's despicable on both sides. It really is. I mean, Jussie, again, our hearts were out to him. We were concerned about him. We were all just saying, this is horrible, only to find out that he lied. And now his attorney is using the race card. And there are legitimate things, Dan, in this country where we really do need to call out the issues of race, racism, sexism, but this is not a case. And so I resent it, particularly as a Black woman. I resent it in this situation because this was a failure on Fox's part. And there should have been a special prosecutor appointed, and there should have been an investigation because there are standards that we all have to uphold. And I take my work very seriously, as do you and Terri, and we all should be held accountable. And to use the race card in this situation is absolutely absolutely horrible. I mean, I grew up in the Deep South. I know what racism looks like. Being a Black woman, I know what sexism has been like. I've been the first woman in so many situations. But to use the race card and to say that this is unfair because she's a Black woman who was second guessed, I can't say what I really want to say on the air about that, but you get my
No, I understand. And look, and I understand that you know, these things can feel personal, right? I mean, I get it. And I think I've seen Terry's been, you know, vigorously nodding.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel it personally too. I mean, as a Black woman growing up in the South, we have a lot of things in common, Judge. Yeah. And you know, here's the point: there are so many hate crimes that aren't pursued, and partially because we have people who are making these types of claims, and that's the real crime here, that no one is believing when it's really happening. Let
me take one more break here, because when we come back, I want to show the way one of the reporters challenged the attorney on one of his comments. We are covering the aftermath of the verdict in the Jussie Smollett case. Smollett found guilty, his lawyer going off. We're coming back.
26 Chicago police officers spent 3,000 hours of time costing the city well over $100,000 for a fake crime that never occurred. And by the way, a fake crime that denigrates what a real hate crime is.
It's the prosecutor, Dan Webb, saying something we've been talking about here in the wake of the Jussie Smollett verdict, found guilty on 5 of the 6 counts against him. I'm joined again by attorneys Terri Austin, co-host of the national syndicated show Law and Crime Daily, and Judge Glenda Hatchett, former judge in Georgia. And I want to ask you, Terri, before I play another piece of sound from the defense attorney that really just happened about an hour ago, why do you think he did this? I mean, why do you think he fought the fight and continued to go after this, knowing what we know? It's
such a good question. You know, the speculation is that he wanted attention, that he wanted to get more money as far as Empire was concerned, that he wanted to
why he did this in the first place.
Exactly, exactly. Raise his salary. And so he perpetuated this lie. And once it started, it just snowballed and he couldn't stop. I mean, that is my guess. He just had to stick to his story and he didn't want anyone to think he was making this up.
I think Judge Hatchett, he's thinking about his career. I think he viewed this as his one opportunity to be able to get his career back, which is he can say to his fans, I never gave up. I went to the stand. I wouldn't plead, because the minute he pleads guilty, he's done, right? There's no way anyone can hire him because now he's admitting it. I guess at this point, he's saying, well, I still maintain my innocence in the hope that there may be a small community of people who might still believe him.
A very small community of people who might still believe him, yes. But he has done, in my opinion, more damage to his brand. I mean, Dan, you know, you have been on television in various roles and doing responsible things, not as an actor, but as a commentator. But your integrity is so critical to everything that you do. And I think that the things that have come out, in addition to them lying, the other things that have come out in this trial, I think it make it even harder for him to rebound. I think that he quietly said, listen, you know, this was horrible. I don't know. I was going through depression. I was on high. I don't know what he could have said. But right now, I think he is in a very, very precarious situation. And I don't know that he can rebound from this. I just don't know that he can.
And on the issue of how much...
A very talented young man. He is very talented, and I'm sorry to see this.
On the issue of how much time he may serve, his attorney, again, at the press conference that he just held, had this to say about a possible jail term.
This is a class 4 felony. It's right above a misdemeanor. From my historical perspective, I used to be a prosecutor in this courthouse, and I think everybody here, we're all former prosecutors. I've never seen a case like this where a person got jail time. And he shouldn't, because he's innocent. Next question.
Terry, what do you make of it?
Next question.
Yeah. Well,
I think he could get jail time.
Yeah.
I think
so
it's a
let me do
serious
this.
crime.
I want to play I promised I'd play the sound of where he was basically claiming all of the expenses to bring this prosecution. And here's a reporter asking a follow-up question to him.
You're saying they spent millions of dollars in the prosecution here, and his officer approach. So I want to see.
No, that's fine. Have you seen the invoice?
What?
Have you seen any
I've not
invoice?
seen the invoice.
Okay, so we all know. I mean, those that have been following this case, you're supposed to, there are supposed to be filings for invoices. I haven't seen one yet. I'm sure there'll be one at some point in time. But this is based on the math we've done. We've talked that we came on this case in February. We're talking to the previous attorneys and the legal team. It's obvious a case like this. Look at all of you here. It didn't cost. It's not a situation where this costs $1 to prosecute.
Yeah, it was a little rough to answer the fact the prosecutor did it for free in this case, which puts him in a bit of a tough spot. Look, I think that once the sentencing begins, that a lot of this other material is going to come out. It's going to end up biting Jussie Smollett in the rear. I think that he is going to get, a year or around a year in jail as a result of this. And I think that that is purely thanks to the decisions that he has made here. All right. Judge Glenda Hatchett, it is tragic, and it was a true waste of resources across the board, which is always something that I care about. Thank you for joining. We love having you on. Thank you. Appreciate it. Terry, we're going to check in with you on another story, because I wanted your take on a crazy acquittal out of Texas, a self-defense case. But first, Christmas coming early this year to Fox News in the form of a burning tree. Non-stop coverage on the network. That's coming up. Time now for our Mediaite Moments, where we check in on the day's bias, buzz, and the bull in the world of cable news and beyond. Big story where media meets Christmas news this week, when the all-American Christmas tree outside of Fox News headquarters was burned down by what police believe was a homeless man who may have had, quote, mental illness. Fortunately, no one was injured, but one can certainly understand why Fox Newsers were upset and angry about it.
It's beginning to look a lot like arson. Right now, there is somebody who is in custody and is being interviewed by local police.
Who sets a Christmas tree on fire?
Look, I, too, love seeing that tree in New York. I used to work across the street. But quickly, this story transformed from a crime, which it was, to an opportunity for Fox News to make this about much more than a seemingly homeless, mentally ill man who, for all we know, might not even know what Fox News is. It became a Fox programmer's dream, from a war on Christmas to a war on Fox News to the lawless cities run by Democratic mayors.
This is emblematic of these cities out of control, defame and defund the police, and this bail reform that has these men and women, these assailants, these suspects out before they even can finish off the paperwork. This is what you get if you have these left-wing DAs and officials running these major cities. You get chaos.
Now, viewers of this show know I regularly highlight the national crime wave across the country and the media's lack of focus on it. But I'm not sure about any cause and effect here. But when the victim of the crime is a Christmas tree, well, then you have a whole new angle.
Torching Christmas trees is an attack on Christianity, obviously. It's an assault on religious observance. By current standards, destroying someone's religious symbol would be called a hate crime.
Well, it could be considered a hate crime if the person did it to target a religious symbol or Christians. His intent, which at this point we don't know, becomes critical. Patience, uncertainty, ambiguity doesn't work well on cable news. And remember, this wasn't just a Christmas tree. It was a Fox News Christmas tree.
Hey, who says it's not a hate crime against us, against Fox News?
Now, I'll admit that I wondered when I first heard about this story whether that was the case. But the more that comes out, the less that seems to be the case. We shall see. But so it went every hour on the hour.
Straight ahead, last night, an arsonist carried out an attack against this news channel.
We don't feel safe when we come to work in the morning. We don't feel safe when we go home at night.
Where sometimes we get hit and a part where we get up together.
And then, like an MSNBC Christmas miracle, Fox News guest Richard Goodstein pushed back on the volume of Fox News Christmas tree fire coverage while on Fox News.
If Fox would put as much energy into decrying the anti-vaxxers, we now have 800,000 people dead and one tree that's destroyed. I don't think there's kind of a lack of symmetry there.
First of all,
and
you
I think
don't have
that's
your
where
facts
the energy
straight.
should go.
And
Say
it's not
otherwise,
personal,
sorry.
but you made it personal.
Now, Richard went there on what I would presume to be his final Fox News appearance, but he was directing it to the wrong Fox Newser, since, as she pointed out, Harris Faulkner participated in a pro-vaccine PSA. But look, this is a time to rejoice. At 5 o'clock today, the tree was resurrected during a much-celebrated episode of The Five.
Take that, arsonists. We are live here at Fox Square for a reason. 3, 2, 1. Light!
An opportunity for a heartwarming event. Seems like this has a happy ending. But remember, peace and harmony doesn't work so well on cable. That's our wrap of the day's Media Bias Buzz and the Bull. Coming up, outrage is everywhere in the media. So you may be surprised to hear about a case where a police officer comes to a front door, identifies himself as law enforcement, he gets shot and killed by the homeowner, a jury acquits in 90 minutes. I'll tell you why it's not getting any coverage coming up next. All right, imagine this. A black police officer comes to a door, yells that he's outside the door, and identifies himself as law enforcement. A homeowner says he doesn't hear him, mistakes the officer for an intruder, shoots and kills him. The homeowner gets tried for murder. It's acquitted in 90 minutes. It's a story that would be everywhere, right? But what was the same facts, except it was a white cop outside instead? Does that story get widely covered? Apparently not. How do I know that? Because it happened in Texas this week. March of 2029, David Wilson shot and killed Midland, Texas police officer Nathan Heidelberg after mistaking Officer Heidelberg, who was checking a security alarm at Wilson's house, for a home intruder. Wilson, who claimed self-defense, was acquitted of murder on Wednesday. It took the jury less than 2 hours to reach a verdict. Wilson had initially been charged with second-degree manslaughter. A grand jury upgraded the charge to murder. He faced life in prison if he was convicted. Prosecutors told the jury that Heidelberg, a 5-year veteran of the force, had identified himself while he was outside Wilson's front door, but Wilson had been inside in a closet, apparently out of fear from what he thought was a burglar. A Texas Ranger and a police trainee who were on the scene testified it was possible that Wilson did not hear Heidelberg's announcement. I'm highlighting this to say that self-defense is a real thing. Mistakes happen. People don't always get convicted for killing someone, even a police officer. And it doesn't always have to be about race. Unfortunately, these types of stories that end up getting covered by the media almost always tend to be racial. And that's a shame. Race and racism is a real issue in this country. But I think selective choices about which stories to cover and how to cover them just often serve to inflame the public. I didn't follow this case. I didn't know anything about it until after I read about the verdict. But to me, it's an important reminder that verdicts that may seem controversial, guy mistakenly shoots a cop outside his home who's checking his alarm system and claims self-defense, aren't always that controversial if you actually follow the case. Back with us, Terri Austin, attorney, media person now. What do you make of my take on this?
A couple things.
Yeah.
First of all, I think you're right. I think the media does not follow when it's white on white crime or black on black crime as much as they may follow the opposite when it's two different races. There's no question. They want that racism involved and they want that splash in the media, and so more people are going to watch it. The other thing here, though, is we're talking Texas. The castle doctrine is huge in Texas. And I think this jury basically said, look, someone was trying to enter. They can do that if you want to use lethal force. If you think that there's going to be someone trying to kidnap you, you can do it. So I think that's why the jury came back. And I think that's why no one made a big deal about it.
But see, here's the thing, is that your legal explanation, which makes perfect sense, would be viewed as a horror, I think, if there was some racial divide in this case. If the person outside had been of color, that your legal explanation would not be acceptable. We'd be talking about how we need to change the laws, et cetera. Look, and I'm not making a judgment on Texas laws. But my point is, I think about Kyle Rittenhouse. I think some of the other cases that are in the news and people saying, this is a horror. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? It's always, can you imagine? This would never happen if the person hadn't been a blank color or this or that. And I just think it's so destructive.
It is. There's no question. Look, from a legal perspective, to your point, they followed the law. But from a media perspective, why is this case not getting as much exposure? And it is because the media does want to make a big deal out of the race issue when it's not always an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. If you have a, not guilty verdict in this case and it's white on white, you should have a not guilty verdict in this case if it were a black police
I think of the Amber Geiger trial, right? This woman who goes into the wrong apartment. Look, I get why she was convicted. I'm not defending her case. But if that had been, if she'd gone in, this is the cop in Texas who walks into the wrong apartment, ends up killing a black guy in his home, right? She went to the wrong floor. I wonder if that case where the person she had killed had been white, would it have been a big story the way it was?
No.
Yeah, right?
No, it would not have been. The race became an issue immediately. And that case, in my opinion, was not about race. She made a mistake, went to the wrong floor. Anybody could have been behind that door.
Yeah.
So the media made it a big deal because there was that racial difference.
And there were others, there are people who use the media to their advantage in these kinds of cases. Terri Austin, it's been great having you the last few days. A lot of fun to have you here in studio.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Thank you. We are on scene tonight with the Baltimore County Police Department as they responded to a man who shot his neighbors and set his own house on fire. And before we get to that dramatic video, we want to play the frantic 911 calls.
We just had a house blow up, and the house next to it is on fire. It's on
A house exploded?
Yes.
Okay, what's the address?
We don't know. There's a million people. There's go fire. We can go fire. With the guy who's living in the house.
I need you to get to safety right now.
We're in the house.
Miss, I need you to get in the house, close the door, and duck below the windows.
There was a huge plume of smoke as the first officer arrived to see that home burning.
Shots fired, shots fired, shots fired. Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun! Go, 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 go! Move in, move in!
The gunman, Everton Brown, shot at the officer as soon as he stepped out of his car. The officer shot back as more police arrived.
He still got the gun, he still got the gun! He still got the gun!
Officers handcuffed the suspect, who had been in his SUV. Police found two victims nearby who had been shot. Another victim shot and stabbed inside a home. All three of them died of their injuries. A fourth victim was shot but survived. Brown died on the way to the hospital. Police found his gun, knife, homemade explosives at the scene. Officers then went to neighbors' homes trying to help them to get to safety as fire trucks pulled up. Joining me is Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood. Sheriff, thanks very much for coming back on the show. Appreciate it. All right, so bring us into the officer's perspective here arriving at that scene.
And you talk about a perfect storm. Fire, victims surrounding you, you're under attack, and you're expected to make all the right decisions. These folks from Baltimore County, all I could say is, wow. And when you listen to that 911 call, the call taker, the dispatcher, eliciting that information to make sure the responding officers had all that information, I don't know how an officer wasn't killed, because this guy was on a death mission. These officers, amazing.
And they know they're getting into a dangerous situation, but they don't know just how dangerous it ended up being. I mean, you know, again, this is a sort of situation where people forget, yes, there was someone who called and gave a report of a house being on fire, et cetera, but the situation ended up being even more dangerous than they initially believed.
You arrive, you're met with gunfire. The guy clearly put himself in a position, a defensive position, to take out officers, and you have wounded people that need first aid. And all this is running through these officers' minds, and they're able to process it under attack in a matter of seconds. Unbelievable. Goes to show you what American policing is all about.
And real quick, Sheriff, we saw a number of officers arriving at that scene as it's happening. The communication there becomes critical.
Absolutely. And that's where the dispatchers, those folks taking that call and dispatching it, they treat us like we're their family. And that information in their hands obviously saves officers' lives.
All right, Sheriff Chitwood, another one of these ones where I got to take a deep breath and say thank you for coming on the show. An important perspective, and I think it's an important video for people to see in terms of understanding what police officers deal with every day in this country.
Dan, you got to bring back live PD so the country can see this every week. This happens every day.
I'm trying. That does it for us tonight. News Nation Prime starts right now. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.